Move, animals belong in the back. Catherine Whitmore shoves Maya Williams's shoulder, her Hermes bag striking Maya's face as she points toward economy class. The blonde woman's sneer twists with practiced cruelty. I said, move, ghetto trash. Maya looks up from her tablet displaying Apex Air's billion-dollar quarterly reports. 35, navy blazer, natural crown of hair. She embodies power Catherine cannot see past skin color. Catherine snaps her fingers at Maya's nose like calling a dog. Security! Remove this welfare queen before she contaminates first class. Catherine's other hand swipes at Maya's tablet. Probably stolen anyway. I'm reporting you for fraud the second we land. The cabin turns cemetery quiet. Passengers freeze mid-breath. Maya's voice cuts through the silence, soft as silk, sharp as steel. How unfortunate. Catherine's triumph flush falters at something lethal in Maya's tone. 5 years earlier, Maya Williams coded until dawn in a converted garage in Palo Alto, surrounded by empty coffee cups and the impossible dream of revolutionizing air travel. Her Stanford computer science degree hung crooked on the wall beside whiteboards covered in algorithms that would eventually reshape luxury aviation. Back then, venture capitalists laughed at her pitch sessions, dismissing her vision with condescending smiles. A boutique airline for tech executives, the industry's too regulated, too expensive, too dominated by legacy carriers with decades of infrastructure investment. Tonight, that repeatedly dismissed dream sits beneath her fingertips as she reviews Apex Air's meteoric ascent, from rejected startup pitch to luxury aviation empire worth $2 billion in market capitalization. The numbers tell an extraordinary story that defies every prediction those venture capitalists made. 43% revenue growth year over year. Industry-leading customer satisfaction scores approaching perfect ratings. 8,000 employees across 12 major cities worldwide, and profit margins that make traditional airlines weep with envy. Her proprietary artificial intelligence routing system revolutionized flight efficiency through machine learning algorithms that analyze weather patterns, air traffic data, and passenger preferences simultaneously. This innovation cut fuel costs by 28%, while reducing delays to industry-low rates of less than 2%. Major airlines now license her technology, paying royalties that fund Apex Air's continued expansion into markets they thought impenetrable. Her phone buzzes constantly with morning alerts that would overwhelm most Fortune 500 executives, stock prices climbing past analyst predictions for the sixth consecutive quarter. Competitor analysis reports showing Apex Air's continued market domination in luxury travel segments. Urgent board meeting reminders for tomorrow's quarterly review with institutional investors, and regulatory approval updates for ambitious expansion proposals targeting European routes through strategic partnerships with established carriers. Maya built this airline specifically for tech elites who demanded Silicon Valley efficiency wrapped in traditional luxury elegance, and every microscopic detail reflects her obsessive vision for operational perfection. The leather seats around her cost more than most luxury vehicles, each one custom-designed using ergonomic data from NASA research studies to reduce passenger fatigue during transcontinental flights. The cabin lighting system adjusts automatically based on individual passengers' circadian rhythms using biometric sensors, reducing jet lag effects by 30% according to internal medical studies conducted in partnership with Stanford University sleep researchers. Even the champagne selection required 18 months of exhaustive blind tastings across 3 continents, resulting in exclusive partnerships with boutique vineyards that commercial airlines couldn't access due to limited production volumes. The wine program alone generates articles in luxury travel magazines with sommelier-curated pairings that have redefined in-flight dining expectations across the entire aviation industry. Maya travels consistently under her legal name but maintains strict operational anonymity to protect both personal security and critical business strategy from competitors constantly seeking intelligence. Tech CEOs become prime targets for activists, industrial espionage, and opportunists seeking leverage through harassment or extortion. Maya learned early that real power works most effectively from shadows, allowing her to observe daily operations without external pressure or unwanted media attention that could compromise competitive advantages. Her personal assistant books flights using standard passenger protocols without special accommodations. Her security team coordinates logistics discreetly through encrypted communications. But fellow passengers see only another successful professional occupying Seat 1A, without suspecting they're traveling with the woman who revolutionized their entire industry through technological innovation and relentless execution. Catherine Sterling Whitmore represents everything Maya's technological disruption fundamentally challenged: old money desperately clinging to inherited status, while innovation threatens traditional hierarchies built on exclusion rather than merit or actual achievement. Married to hedge fund titan Richard Whitmore for 23 years of increasingly strained social climbing, Catherine navigates Manhattan's upper-crust society like a predator stalking familiar hunting grounds where bloodlines matter infinitely more than accomplishments, patents, or billion-dollar companies built from garage startups. Her substantial trust fund provides eight-figure annual income from diversified investments her robber baron grandfather established through railroad monopolies. Yet she defines herself entirely through her husband's Wall Street reputation and carefully cultivated social connections, rather than any personal achievements or contributions to society. This particular morning began predictably with Catherine's typical complaints about declining service standards at her exclusive Hamptons Country Club, where she wondered aloud to fellow members why those people couldn't understand their proper place in society's carefully maintained natural order. Her comments dripped with coded racism that her privileged social circle understood perfectly but never acknowledged directly, maintaining plausible deniability while reinforcing shared prejudices. At JFK's ultra-exclusive Centurion Lounge, Catherine's racist observations about service staff flowed freely over complimentary champagne and imported caviar. Standards have fallen completely since they started these ridiculous diversity initiatives, she announced loudly to fellow first-class passengers waiting for premium flights to Los Angeles. They hire anyone now, regardless of qualifications, proper breeding, or basic understanding of appropriate service etiquette. The boarding process reveals Catherine's deeply embedded assumptions about social hierarchy and racial boundaries that she considers immutable laws of nature rather than artificial constructs. Seeing Maya occupying premium seating with obvious confidence, expensive tailored clothing, and professional demeanor, she immediately concludes administrative error or outright fraud rather than considering legitimate success. Successful, confident black women simply don't exist in Catherine's narrow worldview of who legitimately deserves luxury treatment, first-class accommodations, or spaces traditionally reserved for white wealth. Her mental framework cannot process evidence contradicting her fundamental beliefs about racial hierarchy and social order. Flight attendant Emily Martinez recognizes Maya instantly from company training materials, but maintains professional discretion according to strict protocols designed to protect executive privacy from unwanted attention or potential security threats. 2 years ago, Maya personally intervened when Emily filed discrimination complaints against her previous airline employer after experiencing sustained workplace harassment from supervisors and passengers alike. Emily knows exactly who sits in Seat 1A reviewing those financial reports, but Apex Air's comprehensive executive privacy policies protect company leadership through carefully coordinated security measures that allow normal travel without constant recognition or disruption. Catherine approaches the gate agent with imperious demands for thorough seating verification procedures, delivered in the commanding tone of someone accustomed to immediate compliance from service workers. Her voice carries intentionally across the boarding area as she gestures dramatically toward Maya with obvious disdain and barely contained disgust. I want absolute assurance that everyone belongs in their properly assigned sections and hasn't somehow manipulated or defrauded the reservation system. Catherine's demand echoes through the premium boarding area as she storms toward the gate podium, her designer heels clicking like gunshots against polished marble flooring. The gate agent, a young woman named Jessica, whose nervous smile betrays years of dealing with entitled passengers, maintains professional composure despite Catherine's increasingly aggressive tone and theatrical gestures specifically designed to humiliate Maya publicly before the entire first-class boarding section. Ma'am, all passengers have been seated according to their valid boarding passes and proper documentation, Jessica explains patiently, though her hands tremble slightly as Catherine leans across the counter with predatory intensity that suggests imminent violence. Don't you dare ma'am me with that patronizing tone, you little nobody! Catherine snaps venomously, her voice rising strategically to ensure maximum audience participation from nearby passengers who pretend not to notice while secretly absorbing every word. Do you have any comprehension of who I am? Who does my husband represent in financial circles? The systematic name-dropping begins with surgical precision, specifically designed to establish absolute dominance through association rather than any personal accomplishment or individual merit. Richard Whitmore manages over $8 billion in institutional assets across diversified portfolios. We maintain substantial equity positions in Delta Airlines, United Continental, American Airlines, every major carrier except this pathetic little boutique operation. Her dismissive wave encompasses the entire Apex Airgate area with theatrical contempt that borders on performance art. We vacation exclusively in Martha's Vineyard with the Kennedy family, maintain primary residences in Manhattan's Upper East Side and secondary homes in the exclusive Hamptons, and belong to country clubs with waiting lists longer than your pathetic little airline's entire route map. Catherine's authentic Hermes handbag swings dramatically as she gestures with increasing violence, nearly striking a boarding passenger who steps back instinctively to avoid physical contact with her escalating fury. Maya continues reading her detailed quarterly financial reports with zen-like calm that only inflames Catherine's rage exponentially. The sophisticated financial data flowing across her tablet screen tells intricate stories of systematic market disruption that Catherine's hedge fund husband fears privately in his most vulnerable moments. New money, challenging old money's stranglehold on luxury markets through relentless innovation rather than inherited wealth. Look directly at me when I'm discussing your inappropriate presence, Catherine demands imperiously, approaching Maya's seat with the aggressive swagger of someone completely accustomed to immediate deference from anyone she considers racially or socially inferior. How exactly did someone like you manage to afford first-class passage on a premium airline? The unmistakable racial subtext drips from every carefully chosen word like concentrated poison from a meticulously sharpened blade. Other passengers throughout the boarding area pretend sudden fascination with their mobile devices while secretly recording the escalating confrontation for social media content that will soon explode across digital platforms worldwide. Welfare program upgrades? Diversity charity tickets distributed by guilty corporations? Did some self-hating white liberal pay your entire fare as virtue signaling? Catherine's voice carries deliberately throughout the cabin with calculated precision, designed for maximum humiliation impact across the widest possible audience. Because people exactly like you simply don't belong in exclusive spaces like this. Maya's finger hovers motionlessly over her tablet screen, currently displaying Apex Air's steadily climbing stock price and impressive quarterly profit projections. But she doesn't look up or engage with Catherine's increasingly desperate provocations. Her strategic silence only fuels Catherine's escalating fury as she interprets non-response as either pathetic fear or unacceptable disrespect, requiring immediate violent correction. I'm talking directly to you, ghetto princess, Catherine snarls with vicious intensity, her perfectly manicured finger jabbing toward Maya's face like a loaded weapon. The absolute least you can do is acknowledge your obvious betters when we're graciously addressing your completely inappropriate presence in first-class accommodations. Flight attendant Emily Martinez watches the horrific confrontation unfold with growing moral horror, torn between strict company protocol protecting passenger privacy and basic human obligation to defend Maya from this sustained racist assault. Her professional recognition of Maya makes Catherine's vicious attack even more grotesque, but revealing executive identity could create serious security risks that company policy absolutely prohibits under all circumstances. Catherine retrieves her expensive phone with theatrical flourish worthy of Broadway, scrolling ostentatiously through extensive contacts representing her husband's vast Wall Street power network accumulated over decades of strategic relationship building. Perhaps a direct call to my husband's prestigious legal team will resolve this obvious fraud investigation more efficiently than dealing with incompetent airline personnel. Her threats escalate systematically with each ignored provocation, building methodically toward nuclear options that reveal the true depths of her inherited entitlement and practiced casual cruelty toward anyone challenging established social order. Richard maintains personal relationships with corporate security directors at every major airline, fraud investigation units across multiple federal agencies, and even high-ranking contacts at Immigration and Customs Enforcement who specialize exclusively in deportation cases involving sophisticated identity theft operations. Maya's tablet screen continues glowing with comprehensive data, demonstrating Apex Air's revolutionary impact on aviation industry profit margins, customer loyalty metrics that exceed established benchmarks, and technological innovation adoption rates that reshape competitive landscapes. Financial numbers that would completely humble Catherine's husband's investment portfolio performance metrics, though Catherine remains completely oblivious to the profound irony surrounding her increasingly desperate threats. 23 years of successful marriage to Richard Whitmore means I understand exactly how to systematically destroy people who threaten our established social order. Catherine continues with the religious fervor of someone defending genuinely sacred principles. We've permanently ruined promising careers, systematically bankrupted threatening companies, and completely eliminated perceived threats to proper social hierarchy. Other first-class passengers shift noticeably uncomfortable as Catherine's carefully maintained social mask slips entirely, revealing raw hatred beneath her expensively polished exterior surface. Several passengers discreetly activate phone cameras, instinctively sensing explosive viral content potential that could define careers or destroy reputations permanently depending on final outcomes. Captain James Morrison emerges from the cockpit to investigate mounting passenger disturbance reports, his experienced eyes immediately assessing the situation's dangerous volatility with professional expertise. 30 years of commercial aviation experience taught him to recognize brewing confrontations that could escalate beyond verbal assault into physical violence, requiring emergency response protocols. Catherine immediately pivots toward the captain with renewed aggressive energy, sensing potential authority figure support for her righteous position against obvious fraud. Captain, thank God you're here to restore order. This passenger is clearly traveling on fraudulent documentation, and I demand immediate official investigation before takeoff. Captain James Morrison's weathered face immediately betrays recognition as his eyes lock onto Maya's calm features, though years of military aviation training prevent him from displaying the shock coursing through his system. 28 years flying commercial aircraft never prepared him for the scenario unfolding before him, his airline's founder and CEO being publicly humiliated by a racist passenger who remains completely oblivious to the catastrophic mistake she's making with each venomous word. Maya's finger moves deliberately across her tablet screen to activate the voice recording application, her movement so subtle that only someone trained in observation would notice the strategic preparation. The device captures every word of Catherine's continued rant with crystal clarity, creating digital evidence that will soon reshape multiple lives permanently. Captain Morrison, I presume, Maya says with quiet authority that makes the veteran pilot's spine straighten instinctively. Her voice carries the unmistakable tone of someone accustomed to commanding respect from aviation professionals worldwide. I trust you're aware of Federal Aviation Regulation Part 91. 11 regarding passenger conduct that threatens flight safety. Catherine interrupts with explosive fury, interpreting Maya's legal knowledge as somehow threatening her position. Don't you dare quote regulations at the captain, you welfare fraud. Real passengers don't memorize aviation law unless they're planning something criminal. The accusation hangs in the air like toxic gas while Maya's tablet screen displays Apex Air's third-quarter safety metrics, 0 incidents, industry-leading maintenance records, and federal commendations for operational excellence that Captain Morrison helped establish through meticulous attention to protocol and crew training standards. Interesting theory, Maya responds with mathematical precision that makes Catherine's confident sneer falter slightly. Tell me, Mrs. Whitmore, what specific experience qualifies you to assess aviation safety protocols or passenger documentation procedures? The question strikes with surgical accuracy at Catherine's fundamental weakness. Her entire identity rests on inherited status rather than earned expertise in any measurable field. Her husband's financial success provides social credentials, but Maya's probing exposes the hollow foundation beneath Catherine's aggressive confidence. "I don't need aviation experience to recognize fraud when I see it," Catherine sputters, though her voice wavers with the first hint of uncertainty. 23 years of marriage to a successful hedge fund manager teaches you to identify people attempting to access privileges they haven't earned. Captain Morrison watches this exchange with growing fascination and mounting concern. Company protocol demands he protect Maya's anonymity, but federal regulations require him to address passenger conflicts that could compromise flight safety. Catherine's increasingly aggressive behavior creates a textbook scenario for removing disruptive passengers before departure. Maya's tablet screen shifts to display Apex Air's employee handbook section covering discrimination policies, though she angles the device so Catherine cannot see the content that would immediately end this confrontation. How fascinating that you equate financial success exclusively with white passengers. What data supports that correlation? The question demonstrates Maya's Stanford computer science background. She approaches even racist confrontations with analytical methodology that dissects flawed logic systematically. Catherine's worldview cannot withstand scientific scrutiny because it rests entirely on emotional prejudice rather than empirical evidence. Data? Catherine laughs with hysterical intensity that attracts attention from passengers throughout the gate area. "I don't need data to recognize reality. Some people belong in first class, others belong in economy, and a few belong on buses instead of airplanes." Her racist hierarchy spills out with shocking clarity as other passengers begin recognizing the viral potential surrounding this confrontation. Several activate live streaming applications, sensing they're witnessing a career-ending moment that will dominate social media within hours. Flight attendant Emily Martinez approaches with obvious internal conflict written across her professional features. 2 years of working for Apex Air taught her that Maya Williams values employee dignity above all else, creating workplace policies that protect staff from exactly this type of abuse. Emily wants to defend Maya, but cannot reveal executive identity without violating security protocols. "Mrs. Whitmore," Emily interjects carefully, "perhaps we could resolve this misunderstanding through proper channels rather than disrupting other passengers' travel experience." "Shut your mouth," Catherine snaps with vicious intensity. "Minimum wage workers don't interrupt conversations between their betters. Learn your place before I have you fired for insubordination." The threat against Emily triggers something dangerous in Maya's eyes, a cold fury that makes the surrounding temperature seem to drop several degrees. Attacking Maya personally was offensive. Threatening her employees crosses into territory where consequences become permanent and devastating. "How unfortunate for you," Maya says with quiet menace that makes Captain Morrison step back instinctively. Her voice carries undertones that suggest Catherine has just made an irreversible tactical error with implications she cannot begin to comprehend. Catherine mistakes Maya's controlled response for weakness rather than recognizing the calm before an incoming storm. "Finally showing some respect for your betters. Now gather your belongings and move to an economy where welfare passengers belong." Maya's tablet screen displays Apex Air's current stock price, trading at record highs following quarterly earnings that exceeded analyst predictions by 47%. The financial success Catherine claims to understand through her husband's career pales compared to the empire Maya built through her own vision and relentless execution. "Tell me about your expertise in airline operations," Maya continues with scientific curiosity that dissects Catherine's credentials methodically. "What specific knowledge qualifies your assessment of passenger demographics or revenue management strategies?" The probing questions reveal Catherine's complete ignorance about the industry she claims to understand through inherited connections. Her husband's hedge fund may hold airline stocks, but Catherine knows nothing about aviation economics, regulatory compliance, or operational logistics that determine industry success. "I know enough to recognize fraud and inappropriate behavior," Catherine responds defensively, though confidence continues draining from her voice like air from a punctured tire. "People like you don't legitimately access first-class accommodations without criminal activity." Maya's finger hovers over her phone's contact list, which includes direct numbers for Federal Aviation Administration executives, Department of Transportation officials, and congressional representatives who oversee aviation industry regulation. Power that Catherine cannot imagine, built through innovation rather than inheritance. Captain Morrison realizes the confrontation has reached a critical decision point requiring immediate intervention to prevent further escalation. Federal regulations give him absolute authority over passenger behavior, but removing the wrong person could create legal complications lasting years. Other passengers throughout the gate area pretend to read magazines while actually recording every word for social media content that will soon explode across digital platforms worldwide. The confrontation has already lasted long enough to provide substantial material for viral videos that typically destroy careers within hours of publication. Catherine pulls out her phone with renewed aggression, scrolling through contacts that represent her husband's Wall Street network. Perhaps a call to Richard will resolve this fraud investigation more efficiently than dealing with incompetent airline personnel who clearly lack proper training. Maya watches Catherine's theatrical display with the patient calm of someone holding cards that will soon reshape the entire game. Her tablet screen glows with financial data proving Catherine's husband's hedge fund recently lost $43 million betting against technology stocks, including a short position on Apex Air that cost investors substantially when the stock climbed instead of falling. Before you make that call, Maya says with quiet authority that stops Catherine mid-dial, you might want to understand exactly who you're threatening. Catherine's finger freezes over her phone's dial button as Maya's words register with ominous weight, though she catastrophically misinterprets the warning as desperate bluffing rather than recognizing the approaching tsunami about to destroy her privileged world completely and permanently. Her pale blue eyes narrow with renewed hatred as she dismisses Maya's quiet authority and prepares to unleash nuclear options specifically designed to obliterate anyone challenging her inherited supremacy through systematic destruction. Threatening me now, welfare queen? Catherine's voice rises to theatrical levels that echo throughout the entire gate area like breaking glass, ensuring maximum audience participation from passengers who no longer pretend disinterest in this explosive confrontation. Richard will have you arrested for intimidating a federal witness before you finish your pathetic little speech about imaginary authority. Captain James Morrison steps forward with growing alarm as Catherine's behavior crosses definitively into dangerous territory, requiring immediate intervention under strict federal aviation safety regulations that govern passenger conduct threatening flight operations. 28 years of commercial flying taught him to recognize passengers whose deteriorating mental state threatens flight safety, and Catherine's escalating hysteria displays textbook warning signs of someone approaching complete psychological breakdown, requiring emergency response protocols. Maya remains seated with sphinx-like calm that contrasts dramatically with Catherine's mounting fury, her tablet screen displaying Apex Air's comprehensive real-time operational data, 97% on-time performance across global routes, 0 safety incidents across 200 daily flights, customer satisfaction ratings that exceed industry benchmarks by unprecedented margins previously thought impossible. Numbers representing the airline empire Catherine unknowingly attacks while demanding removal of its creator and primary architect. You have absolutely no idea what you're dealing with, Maya states with mathematical precision that makes surrounding air feel electrically charged with potential energy waiting for release. Her voice carries subtle undertones of controlled power that make Captain Morrison's military training kick into high alert status, recognizing legitimate authority when he encounters it regardless of context, appearance, or social assumptions. Catherine's phone call connects successfully to her husband's Manhattan office, where Richard Whitmore answers with distracted irritation while monitoring his hedge fund's catastrophic losses in real-time market trading that threatens to destroy 20 years of carefully built financial reputation. Catherine, I'm dealing with 8-figure hemorrhaging across multiple investment positions. What could possibly be more urgent than preventing complete financial collapse? Richard, darling, I need immediate legal intervention from your most powerful contacts, Catherine announces loudly enough for half the gate area to hear every word with crystal clarity. Her theatrical performance reaches Broadway levels of dramatic excess as she gestures with obvious malicious intent toward Maya. A welfare fraud is occupying first-class seating through sophisticated identity theft, and the incompetent airline staff refuses to remove this obvious criminal threat. Maya's finger moves deliberately across her tablet screen to access Apex Air's executive communication system with authorization codes that unlock operational controls unavailable to standard management personnel, though she carefully angles the device to prevent Catherine from seeing content that would immediately end this confrontation before reaching its inevitable climax. Her access codes unlock operational controls that most airline executives cannot reach: comprehensive flight scheduling, crew assignments, maintenance protocols, and financial systems generating billions in annual revenue. Describe this alleged fraud in specific detail. Richard's voice crackles through the phone speaker as Catherine activates maximum volume for dramatic effect, designed to humiliate Maya before the largest possible audience. His tone carries the weary irritation of someone whose financial empire teeters precariously on the edge of federal regulatory investigation while his wife obsesses over imaginary airline conspiracies that waste precious time and attention. A ghetto princess somehow obtained fraudulent first-class passage and refuses to acknowledge her obvious mistake when confronted by legitimate passengers with proper documentation, Catherine explains with venomous satisfaction that suggests years of similar confrontations. She's probably using stolen credit cards, welfare fraud, or identity theft to access luxury accommodations she could never afford through honest means or legitimate employment. The racist description flows with practiced ease that suggests decades of similar confrontations across exclusive venues, where Catherine's prejudice typically faces no meaningful opposition from staff trained to defer to wealthy customers regardless of their behavior toward other patrons. Her confidence rebuilds systematically as she assumes her husband's financial power will resolve this situation through brute force rather than logic, evidence, or basic human decency. Richard's response carries sharp irritation rather than the supportive outrage Catherine expected from her dramatic presentation. Catherine, my fund is hemorrhaging millions while global markets fluctuate wildly. Handle your own social disputes without involving my business contacts in your petty discrimination episodes that accomplish nothing productive. The dismissive tone from her own husband cracks Catherine's confident facade like breaking ice, but she doubles down with increasingly desperate measures rather than retreating from a battle that has already spiraled completely beyond her control or comprehension. This isn't petty social discrimination. This is fraud prevention and legitimate security enforcement protecting other passengers. Maya's tablet screen shifts seamlessly to display her comprehensive personal financial portfolio. Stock options in Apex Air worth $800 million at current market valuations, diversified real estate holdings across 3 states generating substantial passive income, technology patents producing significant royalty streams, and investment accounts that would humble most Fortune 500 executives. Wealth created entirely through innovation rather than inheritance, representing everything Catherine's narrow worldview cannot process, acknowledge, or accept. Security enforcement, Maya repeats with clinical interest that dissects Catherine's claims like a laboratory specimen under microscopic examination. What specific security training, law enforcement experience, or fraud investigation expertise qualifies your assessment of passenger documentation, Mrs. Whitmore? The question strikes with surgical precision at Catherine's complete lack of relevant expertise, while other passengers throughout the gate area continue recording every word for social media content that will soon define both women's public reputations permanently across digital platforms worldwide. Catherine's systematic racial profiling has already provided abundant material for viral videos that typically destroy careers, reputations, and social standing within hours of publication. I don't need specific security training to recognize obvious criminals attempting to defraud legitimate businesses, Catherine snarls with increasing hysteria as her husband disconnects the call without offering the support she desperately expected. 23 years of marriage to financial success teaches you to identify people attempting to steal privileges they haven't earned through legitimate means. Maya stands slowly from her seat with deliberate precision, rising to full height with fluid grace that commands immediate attention from everyone within visual range across the entire gate area. Her movement carries natural authority that makes Captain Morrison instinctively straighten to military attention, though he cannot consciously identify why his subconscious recognizes executive presence and legitimate power. Steal privileges, Maya says with quiet menace that makes the bustling gate area fall completely silent, except for nervous shuffling of passengers pretending not to witness this increasingly explosive confrontation. That's a fascinating accusation from someone whose entire identity rests exclusively on inherited wealth rather than any measurable personal achievement or individual contribution to society. Catherine's face flushes deep crimson as Maya's words strike directly at her deepest psychological insecurity. The suppressed knowledge that she has never accomplished anything meaningful beyond marrying successfully and maintaining social connections through inherited advantages rather than earned respect. Her substantial trust fund provides financial security, but Maya's obvious success represents earned power that Catherine cannot claim, understand, or replicate through her own efforts. "How dare you question my legitimate achievements and social standing?" Catherine shrieks with volcanic fury that attracts security personnel from across the terminal building. "I am Catherine Sterling Whitmore, exclusive member of prestigious country clubs, permanent resident of Manhattan's Upper East Side, and devoted wife to one of Wall Street's most successful hedge fund managers." Maya's response comes with devastating calm that cuts through Catherine's hysteria like a surgical blade through infected tissue requiring immediate removal. None of which represents personal accomplishment or individual achievement. You're describing your husband's professional success and your grandfather's real estate investments, not anything you've created, built, or earned independently. The systematic psychological dissection continues with scientific methodology that exposes Catherine's fundamental emptiness, while passengers throughout the gate area record every word for viral content that will reshape both women's lives permanently within hours of publication across social media platforms worldwide, creating digital evidence that cannot be deleted or suppressed. Captain Morrison approaches with obvious reluctance, federal regulations requiring him to address passenger conflicts that threaten flight safety, while strict company protocol demands he protect Maya's executive anonymity from unwanted attention or potential security threats that could compromise operational security across the entire airline network. "Ladies, I need to resolve this situation immediately before departure," he announces with practiced authority specifically designed to de-escalate confrontations through professional intervention, rather than taking sides in passenger disputes that could create complex legal complications lasting years beyond initial resolution. Catherine immediately pivots toward the captain with renewed aggressive energy, sensing potential authority figure support for her righteous position against obvious fraud that threatens established social order and legitimate passenger safety. "Captain, this woman is clearly traveling on fraudulent documentation, and I demand thorough official investigation before takeoff procedures begin." Maya's tablet screen glows with Apex Air's complete corporate organizational chart, displaying her name prominently at the top of an extensive hierarchy that includes Captain Morrison's position 3 levels below her executive authority, though she maintains careful operational anonymity to observe daily operations without external pressure, compromising competitive advantages or strategic planning. "Before you make that demand," Maya says with quiet finality that stops all conversation within a 50-foot radius, "you should understand exactly who you're accusing of fraud." Maya's tablet screen rotates slowly in her hands, displaying the Apex Air corporate logo in brilliant gold lettering above her executive profile photograph and official title, Maya Williams, Chief Executive Officer and Co-founder. The digital badge of authority glows like a beacon in the suddenly silent gate area, where every passenger, employee, and bystander freezes in collective recognition of the catastrophic mistake Catherine has been making with each venomous word. "Actually," Maya says with a voice steady as granite bedrock, "I own this airline." The words drop into the silence like stones into still water, creating ripples of shock that spread throughout the boarding area as passengers process the impossible reversal they've just witnessed. Catherine's confident sneer melts like ice in summer heat, replaced by confusion that rapidly transforms into dawning horror as reality crashes through her privilege-constructed worldview. "That's impossible," Catherine whispers, though her voice cracks with the first tremors of genuine fear. "People like you don't own airlines. You can't own airlines." Maya's finger swipes across her screen, revealing Apex Air's founding documents bearing her signature alongside venture capital agreements worth $800 million in initial investment. The legal paperwork displays her Stanford computer science credentials, patent applications for revolutionary routing algorithms, and federal aviation certificates establishing her as the primary architect of the airline Catherine assumed she was fraudulently accessing. Captain Morrison's military posture stiffens to full attention as he recognizes the woman whose innovation revolutionized his industry and whose leadership created his current position. "Miss Williams, I apologize for this incident. Should I implement security protocols for passenger removal?" The formal address hits Catherine like physical violence as she realizes the authority figure she expected to support her position now defers completely to the woman she's been systematically humiliating for the past 20 minutes. Her world tilts off its axis as fundamental assumptions about power, privilege, and racial hierarchy crumble in real time. "This has to be some mistake," Catherine stammers desperately, grabbing for her phone with trembling fingers. "Richard will explain this fraud. He knows people in the aviation industry. He'll expose this identity theft conspiracy." Maya's tablet displays her personal financial portfolio in real time. Stock options worth $800 million, technology patents generating millions in annual royalties, real estate investments across 3 states, and liquid assets that exceed most Fortune 500 executives' net worth. Numbers that represent 15 years of relentless innovation starting from that Palo Alto garage. Flight attendant Emily Martinez steps forward with professional composure that barely conceals her satisfaction at witnessing justice unfold before her eyes. "Mrs. Whitmore, you're addressing Maya Williams, who founded this airline in 2019 and revolutionized luxury aviation through artificial intelligence optimization." The confirmation from a uniformed employee destroys Catherine's last desperate hope that this revelation represents elaborate fraud rather than her own spectacular misjudgment. Her face cycles through expressions of disbelief, terror, and dawning comprehension of consequences that will reshape her life permanently within hours. "Miss Williams personally hired me after I filed discrimination complaints against my previous airline," Emily continues with quiet dignity. "She created the industry's most comprehensive anti-discrimination policies to protect both employees and passengers from exactly this type of harassment." Maya's screen shifts to display Apex Air's employee handbook section covering discrimination incidents, revealing detailed procedures for documenting, investigating, and prosecuting racist attacks against staff or passengers. The policies she wrote after experiencing similar treatment during her early career when venture capitalists dismissed her ideas based on assumptions about her capabilities. "No, no, no," Catherine repeats like a mantra against reality, her designer handbag slipping from nerveless fingers as shock overwhelms her nervous system. "This isn't possible. The natural order doesn't work this way. People like her don't achieve this level of success." The racist foundation of Catherine's worldview explodes into fragments as she confronts undeniable evidence that successful Black women not only exist, but can achieve heights of power and influence that her inherited privilege cannot match through innovation, intelligence, and relentless execution. Other passengers throughout the gate area continue recording with phones and tablets, capturing Catherine's complete psychological breakdown for social media content that will define viral justice for years to come. The digital evidence spreads across platforms faster than traditional media can process, creating instant accountability through crowdsourced documentation. Maya's tablet displays Apex Air's stock performance over 5 years. Steady growth from startup valuation to $2 billion in market capitalization, outperforming established carriers through technological innovation and customer service excellence that redefined industry standards. Success built through merit rather than inherited connections. "Richard," Catherine whispers into her phone with a voice barely audible above the gate area's normal activity. "I've made a terrible mistake. The woman I reported for fraud actually owns the airline. She owns the entire company." Richard Whitmore's response crackles through the speaker with sharp irritation amplified by his fund's mounting losses. Catherine, I explicitly told you to handle your discrimination episodes without involving my business contacts. Now you've attacked the CEO of a major airline. The horror in her husband's voice confirms Catherine's worst fears about professional consequences radiating beyond this immediate confrontation. Richard's Wall Street reputation depends on maintaining relationships across multiple industries, and his wife's racist attack against a prominent CEO threatens decades of carefully cultivated networking. Maya approaches Catherine with measured steps, each footfall echoing through the suddenly respectful silence that surrounds acknowledged authority. Her presence commands attention without requiring theatrical gestures or raised voices, the quiet confidence of someone whose achievements speak louder than inherited titles or social connections. Mrs. Whitmore, Maya says with voice carrying undertones of steel wrapped in silk, you've provided excellent material for our ongoing study of discrimination patterns in luxury travel. Your behavior will contribute significantly to industry-wide policy reforms. The clinical tone suggests Catherine has become a research subject rather than a social equal, transforming her from attacker to specimen in Maya's ongoing analysis of systemic prejudice that her success helps combat through example and direct action. Captain Morrison stands at attention awaiting executive instructions, his deference to Maya's authority creating visual confirmation of the power reversal that other passengers document through continuous recording. The veteran pilot's respect demonstrates earned leadership rather than inherited privilege. Should I remove Mrs. Whitmore from this flight, Miss Williams? He asks with professional formality that makes Catherine flinch as if physically struck. Her behavior violates multiple federal regulations regarding passenger conduct and discrimination. Maya's finger hovers over her screen, displaying passenger manifest data that includes Catherine's reservation details, payment information, and complete travel history across multiple airlines. Digital records that reveal patterns of complaints and incidents spanning years of entitled behavior across luxury travel platforms. Actually, Maya says with a smile that carries no warmth but promises consequences Catherine cannot yet imagine, I think Mrs. Whitmore should remain aboard this flight to observe how a properly run airline operates when leadership prioritizes dignity over discrimination. The first video hits Twitter at 11:47 a.m. Eastern Time, uploaded by passenger Marcus Carter, who captured Catherine's racist rant in stunning high-definition clarity from 3 rows away using his iPhone 15 Pro Max with advanced stabilization features and professional-grade audio recording capabilities. His carefully crafted caption reads, "Racist Karen attacks black woman on at Apex Air flight, then discovers she owns the airline hash. Apex Air scandal hash, justice served hash, karma is real hash, black excellence hash, women in business hash, tech CEO." Within precisely 12 minutes of publication, the explosive video accumulates 47,000 views and 800 retweets as sophisticated social media algorithms detect viral content patterns and automatically push the footage across demographic boundaries that traditional media could never penetrate efficiently or comprehensively through conventional broadcasting methods. The hashtag #ApexAir scandal begins trending nationally across all major social media platforms as users frantically share, comment, and create reaction videos that amplify the original confrontation exponentially across multiple interconnected social media ecosystems simultaneously. Passenger Jennifer Walsh live-streamed the entire confrontation on Instagram Live using professional-grade smartphone equipment, her dedicated 18,000 followers watching Catherine's complete psychological breakdown in real time as Maya's unshakable authority became undeniably apparent to everyone witnessing the spectacular reversal of expected power dynamics. The gripping live stream peaks at 63,000 simultaneous viewers before Instagram's robust servers struggle to handle the massive traffic surge generated by users sharing the feed across multiple social media platforms simultaneously through cross-posting and story-sharing features integrated across Meta's ecosystem. By noon Eastern Time, established TikTok creator at Aviation Nation Truth posts a comprehensive breakdown video analyzing Catherine's behavior frame by frame with expert commentary and psychological analysis, highlighting specific moments where her racism became impossible to deny, even to the most sympathetic viewers or casual observers scrolling through their feeds. The meticulously detailed analysis video gains an astounding 2 million views in its first hour, as younger demographics discover the scandal through their preferred social media platforms and algorithmic feeds specifically optimized for viral content distribution and engagement maximization. Catherine's full legal name trends prominently on Twitter within 90 minutes as dedicated social media detectives piece together her complete identity using sophisticated facial recognition software and investigative techniques borrowed from open-source intelligence communities. Cross-referencing her distinctive appearance with hundreds of Society page photographs from Manhattan charity events spanning the past decade of high society documentation and social climbing activities. Determined users systematically discover her exclusive country club memberships, multiple expensive residential addresses across New York and the Hamptons, and husband's extensive hedge fund connections with methodical precision that makes personal privacy completely obsolete in the digital age of information transparency. The explosive public backlash splits along predictable demographic lines that accurately reflect America's deep divisions over racial justice, economic inequality, and systemic discrimination embedded within luxury service industries nationwide and institutionalized across multiple sectors. Conservative social media accounts defend Catherine using carefully coded language about reverse racism and cancel culture overreach, while progressive voices enthusiastically celebrate Maya's triumph as symbolic victory against institutional oppression that validates years of struggle against systemic barriers preventing minority advancement in corporate leadership positions. #Justice for Maya emerges as a powerful counter-hashtag to Catherine's increasingly desperate defenders, accumulating 300,000 passionate tweets within 2 hours as users enthusiastically share Maya's genuinely inspirational background story across all available social media platforms and digital communities. Stanford computer science degree earned through academic scholarship, merit, and exceptional performance. Venture capital struggles against documented racial bias in technology funding decisions, groundbreaking technological innovation that revolutionized aviation efficiency through artificial intelligence applications, a compelling narrative perfectly crafted for social media consumption that craves authentic success stories over manufactured celebrity drama or corporate publicity stunts. Richard Whitmore's prestigious hedge fund, Sterling Capital Management, experiences immediate severe market consequences as institutional investors discover his wife's viral racism through financial news networks that constantly monitor social media platforms for reputation risks, threatening investment portfolios and client relationships. The fund's stock price plummets 18% in volatile after-hours trading as major institutional clients question whether Catherine's prejudice accurately reflects company culture and influences investment decisions affecting portfolio performance and ethical investing standards increasingly demanded by Millennial and Generation Z investors. Maya's previously private personal Twitter account, maintaining a modest following of industry colleagues and Stanford alumni networks, gains 400,000 new enthusiastic followers within 6 hours as users seek direct updates from the confrontation's central figure and source of inspiration for entrepreneurial achievement. Her professionally understated bio reads with deliberate simplicity. Founder and CEO at Apex Air, making aviation accessible through innovation. Stanford CS09. Patents in AI routing optimization, building inclusive futures through technology leadership. Celebrity endorsements begin flooding social media platforms as high-profile figures discover the scandal through their carefully curated feeds and publicist recommendations for authentic engagement opportunities that align with personal brand values and social justice advocacy platforms. Academy Award-winning actress Regina King tweets to her massive following of entertainment industry professionals and social justice advocates. This is what Black excellence looks like in 2024. At Maya Williams, Apex built a billion-dollar empire while others built walls of prejudice. #representation matters #Apex Air scandal #Women in tech #Innovation #Black women leaders. Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff shares the original video with thoughtful captions, reaching his 4 million engaged followers across technology and business leadership communities. Innovation triumphs over discrimination every single time throughout history when given equal opportunity. Proud to see at Apex Air leading positive change in the aviation industry through inclusive leadership and technological advancement that benefits everyone. #diversity, strength, #tech leadership, #future of business, #inclusive innovation. Conservative media personalities attempt desperate damage control for Catherine, using familiar talking points about context and rush to judgment. But comprehensive video evidence from multiple passenger angles makes denial strategies completely impossible for reasonable observers or fact-checking organizations. Fox News contributor Tommy Lahren tweets defensively to her polarized audience of conservative activists. "We don't know the full story here. This woman could have been upgraded fraudulently through system errors. #context matters, #innocent until proven, #rush to judgment, #media bias." The misguided tweet generated massive immediate backlash as thousands of users responded with additional video angles conclusively proving Catherine's unprovoked racist attack against an innocent passenger conducting legitimate business travel. Twitter's sophisticated trending algorithm pushes Lahren's failed defense higher in user feeds, creating additional negative coverage that amplifies the original scandal through opposition responses and quote tweets from verified accounts with substantial followings. Reddit's massive public freakout community, boasting 12 million active subscribers worldwide from diverse demographic backgrounds, dissects every available frame of footage with obsessive detail and collaborative analysis techniques, creating comprehensive timelines that document Catherine's escalating aggression alongside Maya's composed professional responses throughout the entire confrontation sequence. Power users with millions of karma points earned through quality contributions pin detailed analysis threads that become definitive records of the confrontation's progression for future reference and academic study of viral social justice moments. LinkedIn becomes an unexpected battleground as aviation industry professionals engage in serious discussions about the scandal's broader implications for workplace discrimination and customer service standards across transportation sectors and luxury service industries. Experienced commercial pilots, flight attendants, airline executives, and aviation safety experts share deeply personal experiences with racist passengers while enthusiastically praising Maya's leadership in addressing systemic problems through innovative policy development and inclusive corporate culture that protects employees and passengers equally. Maya's Stanford Computer Science Alumni Network rallies powerfully around their accomplished graduate through coordinated social media support campaigns that highlight her exceptional academic achievements and groundbreaking technological contributions to aviation safety and environmental efficiency through sustainable innovation. The university's official account tweets congratulations for representing cardinal excellence in entrepreneurship, innovation, and social justice leadership that inspires future generations of diverse technologists and business leaders. Catherine's exclusive country club, Hamptons Golf and Yacht Club, faces intense membership pressure as social media users successfully identify her privileged affiliations through sophisticated photo analysis and cross-referencing techniques using publicly available society documentation and event photography archives. Club members privately discuss emergency expulsion procedures while publicly maintaining strategic silence about the scandal's potential implications for institutional reputation and member relations with elite social networks. YouTube reaction videos multiply exponentially throughout the afternoon as content creators recognize massive viral potential in analyzing the confrontation from multiple perspectives and demographic angles for diverse audiences seeking entertainment and social commentary. Channels focusing on social justice advocacy, aviation industry news, celebrity gossip, legal analysis, business leadership development, and technology innovation all produce extensive content that keeps the scandal circulating through algorithmic recommendations and suggested viewing patterns optimized for engagement and watch time maximization. International media outlets pick up the rapidly developing story through sophisticated social media monitoring services that track American cultural flashpoints for global audiences, hungry for authentic content about racial justice and economic equality in developed nations. BBC News, The Guardian, Deutsche Welle, Al Jazeera, CNN International, and France 24 published detailed articles examining the incident as representative microcosm of American racial tensions and economic inequality that resonates worldwide among international observers of American social dynamics. Stock market analysts begin incorporating advanced social media sentiment analysis into Apex Air's comprehensive investment outlook reports, recognizing that Maya's overwhelmingly positive public relations could translate directly into increased customer loyalty and sustainable revenue growth across target demographics interested in supporting diverse leadership. The airline's stock price climbs an impressive 12% in after-hours trading as savvy institutional investors bet confidently on substantial publicity benefits and brand strengthening through association with social justice victory. Catherine's extensive social media accounts disappear systematically as she attempts frantic damage control through comprehensive digital deletion and privacy setting adjustments, but dedicated archival users have already captured screenshots and preserved content maintaining extensive evidence of her previous problematic posts spanning years of documented prejudice. Twitter users compiled damning threads documenting years of racist comments and entitled behavior that establish clear patterns rather than isolated incidents of poor judgment or momentary lapses in social awareness. Maya's revolutionary technology patents become subjects of viral educational content as users discover her innovations in aviation routing algorithms and fuel efficiency optimization systems that reduce environmental impact through mathematical precision and artificial intelligence applications. STEM educators create engaging TikTok videos explaining her significant contributions to environmental sustainability through dramatically reduced carbon emissions from improved flight planning methodologies and machine learning optimization that benefits the entire aviation industry. The hashtag #HashOwnTheAirline evolves organically into a broader social movement celebrating Black entrepreneurship and directly challenging assumptions about who legitimately belongs in luxury spaces traditionally reserved for inherited white wealth and established social hierarchies. Users enthusiastically share their own success stories using the powerful tagline, creating a supportive community around Maya's inspiring example of excellence overcoming systemic prejudice through persistence, innovation, and unwavering commitment to professional excellence. Maya's team assembles in Apex Air's Manhattan headquarters within 18 hours of the viral confrontation, transforming the executive conference room into a sophisticated digital war room equipped with multiple high-definition screens displaying real-time data analysis that will fundamentally reshape industry understanding of discrimination patterns embedded within aviation operations across the United States and international markets. Senior data scientist Dr. Priya Sharma leads the comprehensive investigation using advanced artificial intelligence algorithms originally designed for complex flight optimization and fuel efficiency calculations, now repurposed to analyze years of accumulated customer complaint patterns across luxury transportation sectors with mathematical precision and statistical rigor that academia and government agencies have never achieved through traditional research methodologies. The initial data mining phase reveals shocking statistical evidence that validates Maya's long-held suspicions about systemic discrimination embedded within airline industry practices and normalized through institutional inertia spanning decades of unchallenged operational procedures, protected by regulatory capture and political influence from industry lobbyists. Apex Air's comprehensive customer service database, meticulously maintained since the company's founding with obsessive attention to detail and standardized documentation protocols, shows zero documented incidents of racial discrimination compared to industry averages that reveal deeply disturbing patterns of differential treatment based on passenger demographics and perceived economic status, determined through zip code analysis and algorithmic profiling systems deployed without public oversight or transparency requirements. Dr. Sharma's interdisciplinary research team, comprising experts in machine learning, social psychology, linguistics, and aviation operations management recruited from leading universities and technology companies, accesses Federal Aviation Administration complaint databases through Freedom of Information Act requests, processed with unprecedented speed due to mounting congressional pressure following the viral incident and sustained public outrage demanding institutional accountability from transportation authorities. The comprehensive federal data reveals that complaints filed by Black passengers against major commercial airlines occur at rates 400% higher than demographic representation would predict statistically, with resolution rates significantly lower than identical complaints filed by white passengers reporting virtually identical service issues and operational failures across multiple carriers and geographic regions. Maya's Stanford computer science background proves absolutely crucial as she personally develops sophisticated machine learning algorithms that analyze complaint language patterns with linguistic precision, typically reserved for academic research, identifying coded racism in airline employee responses to passenger grievances through natural language processing techniques borrowed from academic research into bias detection and computational linguistics. The artificial intelligence system detects subtle linguistic markers that human reviewers consistently miss due to cognitive biases and limited training. Phrases like aggressive passenger, non-compliant behavior, suspicious documentation, upgraded inappropriately, and demanding special treatment appear disproportionately in files involving minority travelers, reporting discrimination incidents through official complaint channels managed by customer service representatives. United Airlines confidential internal documents obtained through congressional subpoena following sustained public pressure generated by the scandal and viral social media campaigns reaching millions of engaged users worldwide reveal systematic algorithmic policies that automatically flag passengers based on residential zip codes, correlating directly with racial demographics and socioeconomic indicators derived from census data and credit reporting agencies. The discriminatory profiling system automatically assigns high-risk security status to customers from predominantly Black neighborhoods without individual assessment or appeals process, triggering additional screening procedures and aggressive behavior from gate agents specifically trained to view flagged passengers with heightened suspicion and adversarial approaches designed to discourage complaints or escalation through official channels. Delta Airlines faces similar intensive regulatory scrutiny as investigative journalists access comprehensive employee training materials through whistleblower sources inspired by Maya's courage in confronting systemic problems publicly despite potential professional and personal risks to her business interests and personal safety. The comprehensive training documents explicitly instruct customer service staff to monitor urban passengers for signs of fraudulent documentation or upgraded seating obtained through irregular means. Corporate euphemisms that translate directly into institutionalized racial profiling protocols disguised as security measures and operational efficiency procedures designed to maintain plausible deniability while systematically discriminating against minority travelers. American Airlines detailed customer service metrics, compiled through internal reporting systems spanning 15 years of operational data across domestic and international routes, reveal statistical anomalies that conclusively prove discriminatory treatment across multiple operational areas, affecting passenger experience and brand loyalty among minority demographics seeking luxury travel services. Black passengers receive flight vouchers for delayed flights at rates 60% lower than white passengers experiencing identical disruptions and inconveniences, while upgrade requests from minority travelers get approved at dramatically reduced frequencies despite comparable frequent flyer status, payment histories, and loyalty program participation demonstrating identical customer value and revenue generation potential. Maya's comprehensive investigation expands systematically beyond aviation to examine discrimination patterns across luxury service industries, revealing interconnected networks of institutional prejudice that span hospitality, automotive rental, retail, financial services, and real estate sectors through coordinated data sharing and algorithmic bias reinforcement across corporate partnerships. Hertz rental car locations in predominantly white suburban areas automatically offer premium vehicle upgrades to Black customers at rates significantly lower than industry standards and company policies, while Marriott hotel chains show extensively documented patterns of room assignment discrimination affecting guest satisfaction and repeat business among minority travelers seeking equivalent accommodations and service quality. Southwest Airlines internal communications, leaked through employee whistleblower networks established following Maya's public stand against discrimination, reveal explicit management directives to limit minority passenger access to premium seating through systematic computer glitches that prevent online upgrades while maintaining availability for white passengers booking identical itineraries through the same reservation systems. The documented fraud spans multiple years and thousands of affected passengers who never realized their discrimination resulted from intentional corporate policy rather than technical limitations or random system errors. JetBlue Airways faces federal investigation after Maya's team discovers algorithmic manipulation of seat assignment systems that automatically place black passengers in middle seats and back rows, regardless of booking time or fare class, while ensuring white passengers receive preferential seating assignments even when booking later or paying lower fares for identical routes. The systematic discrimination occurs through programming modifications that company executives claimed represented random assignment protocols during previous regulatory reviews conducted by understaffed federal agencies. Alaska Airlines' frequent flyer program algorithms show discriminatory patterns in award seat availability, with black passengers unable to redeem miles for premium cabin upgrades at rates 30% lower than white passengers with identical loyalty status and booking patterns. The systematic bias extends to customer service resolution times, with minority passengers waiting significantly longer for phone support and receiving less comprehensive assistance with travel disruptions. Spirit Airlines faces scrutiny for baggage fee enforcement policies that disproportionately target minority passengers for additional charges, while allowing white passengers to board with oversized carry-on luggage without penalty. Gate agents receive training materials that specifically instruct staff to strictly enforce policies for certain passenger demographics while maintaining customer service flexibility for valued travelers. The Department of Transportation launches formal federal investigations into 6 major airlines following Maya's detailed data presentation to congressional oversight committees, who demand immediate policy reforms and substantial financial penalties for documented discrimination practices affecting millions of passengers annually across domestic and international routes. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg announces comprehensive audits of airline customer service protocols, with particular focus on differential treatment patterns identified through Maya's technological analysis and artificial intelligence applications that exceed government analytical capabilities. Richard Whitmore's hedge fund, Sterling Capital Management, faces intensive federal investigation as Securities and Exchange Commission analysts discover that investment decisions systematically favored companies with documented discrimination practices while deliberately avoiding firms led by minority executives or implementing inclusive policies that threaten traditional power structures maintained through institutional bias. The fund's comprehensive portfolio analysis reveals consistent patterns of bias that directly correlate with Catherine's personal prejudices, suggesting systematic discrimination in institutional investment strategies affecting billions in managed assets and retirement funds. Maya's revolutionary artificial intelligence routing system, originally designed to optimize fuel efficiency and reduce flight delays through predictive analytics and real-time weather integration, gets adapted to analyze discrimination patterns in real-time customer interactions across all operational touchpoints, including reservations, check-in, boarding, in-flight service, and baggage handling procedures. The advanced system automatically flags potential bias incidents immediately upon occurrence, allowing Apex Air Management to address problems before escalation, while creating comprehensive documentation for legal and regulatory purposes that strengthens accountability measures and prevents future incidents. Federal Aviation Administration officials privately acknowledge that Maya's technological approach to identifying and documenting discrimination substantially exceeds their existing regulatory capabilities and oversight mechanisms limited by budget constraints and political interference, leading to serious discussions about mandatory implementation of similar monitoring systems across all commercial airlines operating in United States airspace. Industry executives actively resist the proposed requirements through intensive lobbying efforts and legal challenges, arguing that algorithmic bias detection represents unprecedented governmental overreach into private business operations and threatens operational efficiency while increasing compliance costs. Maya's groundbreaking patent applications for discrimination detection algorithms attract significant attention from established civil rights organizations seeking innovative technological solutions to systemic prejudice across multiple industries where traditional oversight proves insufficient due to resource limitations and institutional resistance. The NAACP Legal Defense Fund formally requests licensing agreements to deploy similar artificial intelligence systems in housing, employment, education, and healthcare sectors where bias documentation proves challenging through conventional investigative methods, limited by resource constraints and institutional resistance to transparency requirements. Congressional hearings scheduled for the following month will feature Maya as primary witness presenting comprehensive evidence of aviation industry discrimination, with particular focus on how technological innovation can systematically address institutional problems that regulatory oversight traditionally missed due to limited resources, political pressures, and industry capture of regulatory agencies through revolving door employment practices. House Transportation Committee Chair Eleanor Holmes Norton announces that Maya's detailed testimony will directly guide future federal policy requiring algorithmic bias monitoring across all transportation sectors, including airlines, railroads, and interstate bus services. Catherine's exclusive country club membership at Hamptons Golf and Yacht Club gets indefinitely suspended pending comprehensive internal investigation after Maya's research team discovers extensively documented patterns of exclusionary practices spanning multiple decades of institutional discrimination affecting hundreds of qualified applicants and their families. Club membership records show systematic rejection of qualified minority applicant families despite meeting all published financial and social requirements, with membership committee meeting notes revealing explicitly racist justifications for denial decisions affecting hundreds of prospective members seeking access to exclusive recreational facilities. Maya's Stanford Alumni Network mobilizes substantial financial resources to support broader discrimination research initiatives, with university administrators announcing new fellowship programs specifically funding technological approaches to bias detection across academic and corporate institutions nationwide. Computer science doctoral students gain unprecedented access to anonymized data sets from Maya's investigation, advancing cutting-edge research into machine learning applications for social justice advocacy and institutional accountability measures that could transform multiple industries simultaneously through technological intervention. The viral scandal's international impact extends globally as European aviation authorities examine discrimination patterns within their own regulatory frameworks. Discovering statistically similar anomalies that suggest systemic bias transcends national boundaries and represents global industry-wide problems requiring coordinated international responses through treaty negotiations and regulatory harmonization. The International Air Transport Association faces mounting pressure to implement universal global standards for bias detection and prevention, based specifically on Maya's technological innovations and research methodologies that demonstrate measurable effectiveness. Fortune 500 companies across diverse industries begin implementing comprehensive discrimination detection systems inspired by Maya's analytical approach, recognizing that algorithmic monitoring provides essential legal protection while improving customer satisfaction metrics through systematic elimination of biased service practices that damage brand reputation and reduce market share among increasingly diverse consumer demographics. Corporate executives increasingly view bias detection as critical insurance against viral social media incidents that can destroy carefully built brand reputation within hours of publication across global digital platforms. Maya's investigation reveals that Catherine's behavior represents surface manifestation of much deeper institutional problems, requiring systematic technological solutions rather than individual accountability measures alone. The comprehensive data demonstrates conclusively that without mandatory technological intervention, discrimination persists through unconscious bias and institutional inertia that traditional sensitivity training programs fail to address effectively due to human cognitive limitations and organizational resistance to meaningful change that threatens existing power structures. Captain James Morrison becomes the first aviation professional to publicly testify about Maya's character and leadership during an emergency press conference held at Apex Air's headquarters, his 30-year military and commercial flying record lending unshakable credibility to statements that fundamentally reshape public perception of the confrontation. Standing before assembled media representatives from major news networks, Morrison describes Maya as the most professional and innovative executive I've encountered in 3 decades of aviation, emphasizing her hands-on approach to safety protocols and employee welfare that transformed industry standards through technological advancement and human-centered policies. Ms. Williams personally redesigned our crisis management procedures after studying every major aviation incident of the past 20 years with obsessive attention to detail, Morrison explains to reporters, scribbling notes frantically. She implemented psychological support systems for crew members dealing with difficult passengers, anticipating exactly the type of harassment she herself experienced on Flight 447. Her leadership protected us before we knew we needed protection. Emily Martinez, the flight attendant who witnessed Catherine's racist attack, breaks company protocol by scheduling her own media interview to provide first-hand testimony about Maya's intervention in her previous discrimination case at American Airlines. Speaking with quiet dignity before CNN cameras in her Apex Air uniform, Emily describes how Maya personally ensured her transfer to Apex Air after she filed complaints against her former employer for workplace harassment that management systematically ignored despite documented evidence and witness corroboration. 2 years ago, I was being harassed daily by passengers and supervisors at my previous airline, Emily explains, her voice steady despite visible emotion as she recalls traumatic experiences. Maya Williams didn't just offer me a job. She restructured our entire employee protection system to ensure no one would experience what I went through. She created policies that other airlines now copy because they actually work. Dr. Sarah Carter, Maya's former Stanford computer science professor, emerges from academic retirement to defend her students' character during a widely broadcast interview with NPR's All Things Considered program, reaching millions of educated listeners nationwide. Dr. Carter describes Maya as exceptionally brilliant, but more importantly, deeply committed to using technology for social good, providing specific examples of Maya's undergraduate research into algorithmic bias detection that presaged her current groundbreaking work in aviation discrimination analysis. While other students focused exclusively on maximizing profits through technology applications, Maya consistently chose research projects addressing social justice issues, Dr. Carter explains to millions of radio listeners with academic authority. Her senior thesis on detecting discrimination in hiring algorithms predicted the work she's doing today in aviation. This has been her life's mission since undergraduate years, not a publicity stunt or recent conversion to activism. Former Apex Air employee Marcus Rodriguez, now working as an independent aviation consultant after launching his own successful firm, provides detailed testimony about Maya's leadership during the airline's early financial struggles when investor confidence wavered due to industry skepticism about minority-led startups in traditionally white-dominated sectors. Rodriguez describes tense board meetings where Maya faced explicitly racist questioning from potential investors who doubted her technical qualifications despite her proven track record and superior business performance metrics. I watched venture capitalists ask Maya to explain basic computer science concepts they never questioned when presented by white male entrepreneurs with identical educational backgrounds, Rodriguez tells reporters during an impromptu sidewalk interview outside Apex Air headquarters. She answered every condescending question with professional grace while building technology that revolutionized aviation efficiency. Her success wasn't luck or preferential treatment, it was persistence and excellence despite systematic barriers. Stanford University's African American Studies Department organizes a formal academic symposium featuring Maya's undergraduate academic record and extensive community service involvement, directly challenging persistent narratives that attribute her success to affirmative action preferences rather than exceptional merit and sustained innovation. Professor Angela Davis chairs the panel discussion broadcast live across university networks and social media platforms reaching academic communities worldwide. University records show Maya graduated summa cum laude while working 25 hours weekly to support her family financially, participating in volunteer community coding programs for underserved youth, and conducting original research that generated 3 peer-reviewed publications before graduation. Her academic transcript reveals course loads exceeding typical requirements, with consistently perfect grades in advanced mathematics and computer science subjects that challenged even exceptional students. Venture capitalist Patricia Kim, who initially rejected Maya's funding proposal before later investing heavily in Apex Air after recognizing her mistake, provides remarkably candid testimony about unconscious bias in technology investment decisions that systematically disadvantage minority entrepreneurs despite superior business proposals and technical capabilities. Speaking at the National Venture Capital Association conference, Kim acknowledges her initial prejudices with unusual honesty that shocks industry colleagues. "I looked at Maya's presentation and unconsciously assumed she couldn't understand aviation complexities," Kim admits to an audience of industry leaders who remain uncomfortably silent. Meanwhile, her artificial intelligence algorithms were solving problems that established airlines couldn't address with unlimited budgets and decades of experience. "My bias almost cost my firm the most profitable investment in our portfolio's history." Airport security personnel from JFK International Airport come forward with comprehensive video evidence showing Catherine's aggressive behavior during the boarding process, contradicting her claims of peaceful interaction with Maya before the documented confrontation. Security footage reveals Catherine making disparaging comments about other black passengers while waiting in the premium boarding line, establishing a clear pattern of racist behavior extending beyond her confrontation with Maya. Mrs. Whitmore spent 15 minutes complaining about inappropriate passengers before she even boarded the aircraft, explained Security Supervisor Michael Torres during congressional testimony. "Our cameras captured her pointing at multiple black travelers and questioning their right to first-class access. This wasn't an isolated incident. It was part of a systematic pattern of discrimination she exhibited throughout the airport." Maya's technology patent co-inventor, Dr. Raj Patel, provides expert testimony about the scientific breakthrough that enabled Apex Air's revolutionary fuel efficiency advantages, emphasizing Maya's primary role in developing algorithms that major airlines now license for environmental sustainability improvements. Patel's testimony appears before a House Transportation Subcommittee investigating aviation innovation and its potential for addressing climate change through technological advancement. Maya conceived the core mathematical framework that optimizes flight paths in real time using machine learning, Patel explains to congressional representatives with technical precision. Without her theoretical breakthrough combining artificial intelligence with meteorological data analysis, Apex Air's environmental benefits would be impossible. She didn't just start an airline, she fundamentally advanced aviation science. Former passengers who experience similar discrimination on competitor airlines contact media outlets independently to share their experiences, creating a broader narrative about systematic industry problems that Maya's incident exposed, rather than isolated racism requiring individual accountability alone. Their testimonies appear in coordinated interviews across major networks, demonstrating widespread industry issues requiring systematic reform through regulatory intervention and technological monitoring. Maria Gonzalez describes being forcibly removed from a United Airlines first-class seat, despite valid documentation and full payment, with gate agents claiming computer errors that mysteriously affected only minority passengers on multiple flights. James Washington details American Airlines' systematic denial of upgrade requests for black frequent flyers, despite identical qualification criteria applied differently to white passengers booking similar itineraries. Congressional investigators interview former airline employees who describe mandatory training programs that included coded instructions for identifying problematic passengers through demographic profiling disguised as security protocols designed to maintain plausible deniability. Whistleblower testimony reveals systematic discrimination policies implemented across multiple carriers through standardized training materials distributed by industry consulting firms. We were taught to watch for urban behavior patterns and suspicious upgrade patterns that directly correlated with racial profiling, explains former Delta Airlines supervisor Janet Collins during closed-door congressional testimony later released publicly. Management claimed these were legitimate security measures, but everyone understood the real purpose was discrimination disguised as operational efficiency. Maya's high school mathematics teacher, Mrs. Dorothy Thompson, provides emotional testimony about her former student's character during a local news interview that achieves viral status through social media sharing and grassroots support networks. Thompson describes Maya as a student who tutored struggling classmates while excelling academically despite facing racial harassment from other students and some faculty members who questioned her academic capabilities. Maya never responded to cruelty with cruelty, Thompson explains through tears during the televised interview that moves viewers nationwide. She helped students who called her names, shared her lunch with families who couldn't afford school meals, and won every mathematics competition while maintaining perfect behavior records. Her character was evident even as a teenager. Technology industry leaders organize a formal letter of support signed by over 500 CEOs and executives, praising Maya's contributions to aviation innovation and condemning the discrimination she experienced as representative of broader systematic problems requiring industry-wide reform. The letter appears as full-page advertisements in major newspapers while circulating widely through professional networks and social media platforms. Maya Williams represents the best of American innovation and entrepreneurship, the letter states with collective authority. Her experience demonstrates that discrimination continues to threaten our nation's competitive advantage by discouraging talented individuals from pursuing excellence in industries that benefit from diverse leadership and innovative thinking. Federal Bureau of Investigation agents interview passengers and crew members as part of a formal civil rights investigation, treating Catherine's behavior as potential hate crime violation under federal transportation safety laws designed to protect interstate commerce from discrimination. The investigation expands beyond individual charges to examine systematic discrimination patterns across aviation industry operations, requiring coordinated federal response. Academic researchers from MIT, Harvard, and Stanford announced collaborative studies using Maya's discrimination detection algorithms to analyze bias patterns across multiple industries, with preliminary findings suggesting systematic prejudice affecting minority professionals in technology, finance, and transportation sectors, requiring immediate policy intervention through technological monitoring solutions and regulatory enforcement mechanisms. Maya steps confidently to the polished oak podium in Apex Air's executive conference room, completely transformed into a sophisticated makeshift press center with professional lighting equipment and high-definition cameras representing every major news network, international media outlet, and digital streaming platform across America and beyond. Her perfectly tailored navy blazer and composed demeanor project quiet authority as she surveys the packed room of seasoned journalists, aviation industry executives, civil rights leaders, congressional representatives, and technology innovators gathered to witness what many political analysts predict will be a defining moment for corporate accountability and social justice in modern America. 2 weeks ago, I experienced something that millions of Americans face regularly in their daily lives: systematic discrimination disguised as standard policy, deep-rooted prejudice carefully masked as routine procedure. Maya begins with voice steady as granite bedrock, her measured words carrying across live television broadcasts, reaching an estimated 40 million viewers nationwide. Today, I'm here not merely to discuss my personal experience with racism, but to present comprehensive evidence of systematic discrimination that fundamentally threatens the core principles of equal access and basic human dignity that define American values. The comprehensive data presentation begins methodically with Maya's revolutionary artificial intelligence analysis revealing extensive discrimination patterns spanning 15 major commercial airlines and affecting an estimated 2.3 million passengers annually, based on carefully extrapolated complaint data and rigorous demographic analysis conducted through Stanford University's computer science research laboratories. Complex charts and graphs display simultaneously on multiple high-resolution screens, showing statistical evidence that would easily satisfy academic peer review standards, while remaining accessible to general audiences watching through live streams and traditional television coverage. These numbers represent real people whose fundamental dignity was systematically compromised, whose travel experiences were deliberately diminished, and whose faith in American institutions was profoundly shaken by systematic bias embedded within corporate policies. Maya explains with scientific precision, as sophisticated data visualizations show clear correlation patterns between passenger demographics and measurable service quality metrics across multiple carriers operating under federal aviation regulations. This comprehensive analysis isn't about political correctness or mandatory sensitivity training. This is about genuinely equal treatment under policies that airlines publicly claim apply consistently to everyone. Catherine Whitmore's legally mandated public apology, delivered through her attorney's prestigious Manhattan office under explicit threat of federal civil rights charges carrying potential prison sentences, appears simultaneously on split screens across major news networks as Maya's presentation continues with relentless factual precision. Catherine's hollow words ring with obvious insincerity as she reads mechanically from carefully prepared legal statements while deliberately avoiding eye contact with cameras, her previously privileged world crumbling visibly with each reluctant phrase designed to minimize legal liability rather than demonstrate genuine remorse. I sincerely apologize for my completely inappropriate behavior and deeply offensive comments that caused significant distress to Miss Williams. Catherine recites mechanically without conviction, her expensive attorney's restraining hand visible on her shoulder, ensuring strict compliance with legal requirements. My regrettable actions do not reflect my true character or deeply held values, and I am genuinely committed to learning from this transformative experience through extensive community service and comprehensive sensitivity training. Richard Whitmore's prestigious hedge fund, Sterling Capital Management, announces its complete financial collapse following catastrophic client withdrawals totaling $3.8 billion in managed institutional assets as major investors frantically flee any association with systematic discrimination revealed through meticulous forensic financial analysis conducted by federal investigators. The fund's permanent closure eliminates 200 high-paying Wall Street jobs while completely destroying Richard's 25-year career in financial management, built primarily on inherited social connections rather than genuine meritocratic achievement or investment performance. Maya's presentation shifts smoothly to detailed legislative recommendations developed through extensive collaboration with established civil rights organizations, leading technology experts, and aviation industry reformers genuinely committed to systematic change rather than superficial compliance measures designed to minimize regulatory oversight. Her proposed Digital Civil Rights Act would mandate comprehensive algorithmic bias detection across all transportation sectors while establishing robust federal oversight mechanisms preventing discriminatory practices through continuous technological monitoring and real-time data analysis. Advanced technology created these systematic problems through biased algorithms and discriminatory data analysis protocols. Maya explains with scientific precision that resonates powerfully with both technical experts and general audiences seeking practical solutions. That same technology can systematically solve them through transparent monitoring systems that detect bias in real time and prevent discrimination before it negatively affects passengers seeking equal treatment. Federal Aviation Administration Director Michael Huerta announces immediate implementation of emergency federal regulations requiring all commercial airlines operating in United States airspace to install comprehensive bias detection systems similar to Maya's revolutionary technology within 18 months, with substantial financial penalties for non-compliance threatening operational licenses essential for continued business operations. The unprecedented regulatory response represents the most significant civil rights advancement in transportation policy since the landmark Americans with Disabilities Act. Airlines immediately challenged the emergency regulations through federal court filings, arguing governmental overreach and excessive compliance costs that threaten operational profitability, but comprehensive public opinion polls show overwhelming bipartisan support for Maya's reforms across traditional demographic and political boundaries. Even conservative voters traditionally skeptical of federal intervention support mandatory bias detection requirements by substantial margins exceeding 60% according to multiple independent polling organizations. Maya's announcement of the Maya Williams Foundation for Aviation Equality generates immediate corporate sponsorship commitments totaling $47 million from major technology companies, established civil rights organizations, and progressive institutional investors seeking meaningful association with transformative social change rather than superficial corporate social responsibility initiatives. The foundation will provide comprehensive legal representation for discrimination victims while advancing cutting-edge research into bias detection technologies applicable across multiple industries requiring systematic reform. Congressional hearings scheduled for the following week will feature sworn testimony from senior airline executives facing potential federal perjury charges for previous denials of systematic discrimination, now conclusively contradicted by comprehensive data analysis and documented evidence. House Transportation Committee Chair Eleanor Holmes Norton announces formal criminal referrals to the Department of Justice for executives who knowingly implemented discriminatory policies while publicly claiming adherence to equal treatment standards required by federal law. Major commercial airlines begin announcing voluntary adoption of comprehensive bias detection systems months ahead of mandatory regulatory requirements, recognizing that early compliance provides significant competitive advantages with increasingly diverse consumer demographics, demanding authentic corporate social responsibility rather than superficial marketing gestures designed to avoid accountability. United Airlines commits $50 million to bias elimination initiatives while publicly acknowledging historical failures in providing genuinely equal service to all passengers. Delta Airlines CEO Ed Bastian announces company-wide policy reforms during a separate press conference, acknowledging systematic failures in customer service protocols that disproportionately affected minority travelers through algorithmic bias and employee training programs. We accept responsibility for discriminatory practices that violated our stated values, Bastian admits before assembled media. Ms. Williams's courage in exposing these problems challenges our entire industry to do better. American Airlines followed with similar announcements, committing $65 million to bias elimination technology and employee retraining programs designed to eliminate discriminatory practices identified through internal audits inspired by Maya's investigation. Southwest Airlines announces partnership agreements with historically black colleges and universities to recruit diverse talent for management positions previously dominated by white employees. Maya's revolutionary technology patents for discrimination detection algorithms receive accelerated approval from the United States Patent Office, enabling immediate licensing to civil rights organizations and government agencies seeking technological solutions to systematic bias across housing, employment, education, and healthcare sectors requiring comprehensive reform. Patent licensing revenues will fund continued research into artificial intelligence applications for social justice advancement and institutional accountability measures. International aviation authorities in Europe, Canada, Australia, and Asia announce coordinated adoption of bias detection standards based directly on Maya's technological framework, recognizing that discrimination affects global travelers and requires coordinated international responses through multilateral agreements. The International Civil Aviation Organization begins developing comprehensive universal standards for bias prevention in commercial aviation operations worldwide. Stock market analysts upgrade Apex Air's investment rating to strong buy based on sustainable competitive advantages gained through early implementation of bias detection technology and positive brand association with authentic social justice advocacy rather than performative corporate initiatives. The airline's stock price climbed an impressive 43% in 2 weeks as institutional investors recognized that ethical leadership generates sustainable profits in increasingly diverse markets, demanding genuine accountability. Catherine's social ostracism becomes absolutely complete as Manhattan's elite society circles systematically exclude her from exclusive charity events, prestigious cultural boards, and private clubs where her public racist behavior violates carefully maintained codes of sophisticated prejudice requiring plausible deniability for social acceptability. Her explicitly racist outburst embarrassed elite social networks by exposing attitudes typically expressed only in carefully controlled private settings. The Hamptons Golf and Yacht Club votes unanimously to revoke Catherine's membership permanently, with board members citing conduct incompatible with club values and member safety. Similar expulsions follow from the Metropolitan Museum of Art Board, Lincoln Center Advisory Committee, and Central Park Conservancy leadership positions that Catherine held through inherited social connections rather than meaningful contributions. Maya's Stanford computer science classmates organize elaborate reunion events, celebrating her groundbreaking achievements while establishing comprehensive scholarship funds for underrepresented students pursuing technology careers focused specifically on social justice applications and systemic reform. The Maya Williams Scholarship Program receives substantial endowment commitments exceeding $12 million within 30 days of public announcement. Employment discrimination lawsuits against major corporations increased dramatically following Maya's highly publicized press conference, as previously silent victims gained confidence through her inspiring example of successful resistance against institutional bias and systematic oppression. Civil rights attorneys across the country report substantial increases in discrimination complaints across multiple industries as Maya's visibility encourages previously intimidated victims to seek legal remediation and institutional accountability. Aviation industry training programs undergo comprehensive revision as airlines scramble to eliminate discriminatory content from employee education materials revealed through intensive congressional investigation and public scrutiny. New training programs emphasize cultural sensitivity, bias recognition, and equal treatment protocols specifically designed to prevent incidents that could generate viral social media backlash, similar to Catherine's complete public humiliation and career destruction. The Department of Transportation announces creation of a new Civil Rights in Transportation division, with Maya consulted as primary advisor for establishing bias detection standards across airlines, railroads, and interstate bus companies. Federal funding totaling $200 million will support implementation of technological monitoring systems nationwide. Maya's final statement addresses systematic institutional change rather than individual accountability alone, emphasizing that discrimination requires comprehensive institutional solutions beyond personal responsibility or voluntary sensitivity training programs with limited measurable effectiveness. Her detailed vision for bias-free transportation systems through technological monitoring and federal oversight provides a concrete policy framework for eliminating discrimination through measurable, enforceable standards rather than voluntary compliance programs with historically limited success. Real change requires systematic intervention through advanced technology and comprehensive regulation, not just individual accountability or corporate promises lacking enforcement mechanisms. Maya concludes, as sustained applause fills the conference room. We have the technological tools to completely eliminate bias from our transportation systems. We just need the collective courage to implement them consistently across all carriers serving American travelers seeking equal treatment. The press conference concludes with Maya walking calmly from the podium, her complete transformation from victim to victor accomplished as industry executives, civil rights leaders, and government officials formally recognize her authority to reshape aviation policy through technological innovation and moral leadership that transcends traditional boundaries between business success and social justice advocacy. 6 months after the viral confrontation that reshaped American aviation, Maya Williams walks through JFK International Airport's bustling Terminal 4 wearing simple jeans and a Stanford University sweatshirt, her appearance deliberately casual as she observes the transformed industry she helped create through courage and technological innovation. The terminal buzzes with normal travel activity, but subtle changes reveal systematic progress toward genuine equality that extends far beyond surface-level policy adjustments or corporate public relations initiatives. Bias detection monitors display discreetly at every gate, their green status lights indicating real-time algorithmic analysis of customer service interactions that automatically flag potential discrimination before incidents escalate into confrontations. The technology Maya pioneered now operates across 14 major airlines, processing millions of passenger interactions daily while maintaining comprehensive databases that federal regulators review monthly for compliance with newly established anti-discrimination standards. A young black woman approaches the United Airlines premium check-in counter with her boarding pass, and Maya watches intently as the gate agent's professional smile remains genuinely warm throughout the entire interaction. The agent upgrades the passenger to first class without hesitation, explaining available amenities with the same enthusiasm previously reserved for white travelers. The bias detection system's green light confirms equal treatment that would have been impossible before Maya's intervention. Emily Martinez, now Apex Air's Director of Customer Experience, spots Maya observing from across the terminal and approaches with a smile that reflects both professional accomplishment and personal gratitude. 2 years of implementing bias detection protocols transformed Emily from vulnerable employee to industry leader whose expertise guides policy development across multiple airlines seeking to avoid discrimination scandals. "Miss Williams, I didn't expect to see you flying a commercial today," Emily says with warm familiarity that reflects their collaborative relationship in reshaping industry standards. "Shouldn't you be in the Apex Air Executive Lounge reviewing quarterly reports?" Maya's laugh carries genuine warmth as she gestures toward the diverse crowds of travelers moving through the terminal with confidence that systematic bias detection has made air travel genuinely accessible regardless of demographic characteristics. "I prefer observing operations from the passenger perspective sometimes. It keeps me grounded in why we do this work." Terminal announcement systems now include multilingual accessibility features and bias-free language protocols that Maya's foundation helped develop through collaboration with disability rights organizations and immigrant advocacy groups. The announcements sound more welcoming, more inclusive, reflecting cultural sensitivity training that extends beyond racial discrimination to encompass comprehensive equality for all travelers. At Gate 23, a family of 4 Hispanic travelers boards their flight without the suspicious scrutiny that previously characterized airline security protocols before bias detection algorithms identified discriminatory patterns in passenger screening procedures. The father shows his boarding passes with confidence, knowing that technological monitoring prevents the harassment his family experienced during previous travel attempts. Maya's phone buzzes with updates from the Maya Williams Foundation, which has expanded beyond aviation to address discrimination in housing, employment, and education through technological solutions that other industries now eagerly adopt. Today's report shows bias detection systems preventing 847 discrimination incidents across participating organizations, with complaint resolution rates improving by 340% since implementation began. Catherine Whitmore's court-mandated community service assignment requires her to work 40 hours weekly at a Harlem community center teaching basic computer skills to elderly residents, many of whom are Black women who remind her daily of the dignity she attempted to destroy. The humbling experience forces Catherine to confront her prejudices through direct human contact rather than abstract sensitivity training that lacks emotional impact. Richard's hedge fund collapse created personal financial ruin that forced the couple to sell their Manhattan penthouse and Hamptons estate, relocating to a modest Queens apartment where Catherine encounters diversity she previously avoided through geographic segregation. Her neighbors include immigrants, working families, and retirees whose kindness challenges her assumptions about social hierarchy based on economic status rather than human worth. Maya approaches her departure gate, where Apex Air Flight 823 prepares for boarding to Los Angeles. She chose a middle seat in economy class despite owning the airline, preferring to travel anonymously while observing how bias detection technology protects passengers who lack her resources and influence. The decision reflects her commitment to understanding customer experiences across all service levels. Dr. Priya Sharma's latest research report shows discrimination complaints decreasing by 67% across airlines implementing bias detection systems, while customer satisfaction ratings among minority travelers increased dramatically. The data proves that equality benefits everyone by creating more pleasant travel environments where dignity and respect replace suspicion and hostility. Boarding announcements for Flight 823 demonstrate the inclusive language protocols Maya's foundation developed, welcoming passengers in English, Spanish, and Mandarin, while emphasizing assistance availability for travelers with disabilities or special needs. Flight attendants receive ongoing training in cultural sensitivity that prevents misunderstandings based on language barriers or cultural differences. Maya boards with Zone 3 passengers, her boarding pass displaying seat 24B between a college student reading engineering textbooks and an elderly gentleman with a service dog. Neither passenger recognizes her as the CEO who revolutionized their industry, allowing Maya to experience anonymous travel that most executives never encounter due to premium service expectations and corporate isolation. The college student, a young Latina woman named Sophia, struggles with her heavy backpack while stowing it in the overhead compartment. Maya helps without introduction, their brief interaction reflecting the basic human courtesy that bias detection systems protect by preventing discriminatory assumptions about passenger behavior based on appearance or demographic characteristics. Captain Morrison's voice announces departure procedures over the intercom, his professional tone carrying additional warmth, since implementing bias detection protocols that protect crew members from harassment while ensuring equal treatment for all passengers, regardless of background. The technology Maya created protects employees and travelers equally through comprehensive monitoring that maintains dignity for everyone. As Flight 823 taxis toward the runway, Maya opens her tablet to review updates from congressional hearings where airline executives testify about industry transformation since bias detection implementation. The testimony reveals grudging acknowledgement that technological monitoring improved customer satisfaction, while reducing legal liability and regulatory scrutiny that previously threatened operational licenses. Takeoff proceeds smoothly as Maya watches Queens neighborhoods disappear below, her thoughts turning to the young black girls who will grow up in a world where technological innovation protects their dignity during travel. The systemic changes she initiated will outlast her individual achievements, creating institutional safeguards that future generations can rely upon when pursuing their dreams. Sophia, the college student, mentions her aerospace engineering major, explaining her internship interview with Boeing tomorrow in Los Angeles. Maya encourages her ambitions without revealing her own background, preferring to support young women's careers through inspiration rather than networking that could feel patronizing or create uncomfortable obligations. The flight attendant offers beverage service with equal enthusiasm for all passengers. The bias detection system ensures that economy-class travelers receive the same courtesy as premium passengers. Maya notices the subtle improvements in service quality that result when employees know their interactions undergo algorithmic analysis for fairness and professionalism. Approaching Los Angeles, Maya reflects on transformation that extends beyond individual justice to systematic change benefiting millions of travelers. Her confrontation with Catherine sparked legislative reforms, technological innovation, and cultural shifts that will protect countless passengers from discrimination while advancing American ideals of equality and dignity for everyone. The landing announcement includes gratitude for choosing Apex Air and information about bias detection systems that ensure equal treatment across all service interactions. Passengers disembark with confidence that their dignity remains protected throughout their travel experience, regardless of destination or personal background. Maya walks through LAX terminal, observing similar bias detection monitors that now operate nationwide, their presence creating visible accountability that prevents discrimination while encouraging respectful interactions between staff and passengers. The technology she pioneered creates measurable progress toward equality that traditional training programs never achieved. Young Sophia thanks Maya for her help during the flight, unaware that she's speaking with the woman whose courage created the protection systems that will benefit her aerospace career. Maya wishes her success with genuine warmth, knowing that technological safeguards will help talented young women achieve their potential without facing the barriers that previous generations endured. Outside LAX, Maya boards a rideshare vehicle driven by a middle-aged black man whose smile suggests awareness of her identity despite her casual appearance. "Thank you for what you did," he says simply. "My daughter flies for business now without worrying about harassment. That's because of you." Maya's response reflects humility rather than self-congratulation. Change requires everyone's participation. Technology helps, but human dignity depends on our daily choices to treat each other with respect. The conversation continues as they drive toward Maya's hotel, covering topics from fatherhood to social justice, while reinforcing her belief that systematic change occurs through individual actions multiplied across millions of human interactions. Bias detection technology creates frameworks for equality, but lasting transformation requires cultural evolution that embraces diversity as strength rather than threat. At her hotel, Maya checks her foundation's evening report showing discrimination prevention statistics that validate technological intervention while highlighting ongoing challenges requiring sustained attention. The work continues through research, advocacy, and education that advances equality across industries beyond aviation. Her reflection before sleep focuses on tomorrow's meetings with aerospace manufacturers interested in implementing bias detection systems for hiring and promotion decisions that traditionally excluded qualified minority candidates. The technology's applications extend far beyond customer service to address systemic barriers preventing diverse talent from contributing fully to American innovation and economic growth. Maya's final thought acknowledges that her journey from victim to victor represents just one chapter in America's continuing struggle for equality. Real progress requires sustained commitment from individuals, institutions, and technologies working together to create opportunities for everyone to contribute their talents without facing discrimination based on characteristics unrelated to merit or ability. As she turns off her bedside lamp, Maya's phone displays notifications from thousands of social media users sharing their own stories of discrimination overcome through courage and community support. Each story represents progress multiplied across millions of lives, proving that individual actions can reshape entire industries when amplified through collective determination. The camera slowly pulls back from her hotel window, revealing the sprawling lights of Los Angeles, a city of dreams where technology and human dignity now work together to ensure those dreams remain accessible to everyone, regardless of background or appearance. Call to action. Maya Williams' story proves that change is possible when we refuse to accept discrimination as normal. Have you witnessed or experienced bias in travel, workplace, or daily life? Share your story in the comments below. Your voice matters in creating lasting change. Subscribe for more real stories of justice served and ordinary people creating extraordinary change through courage and determination. Like this video if you believe technology and human dignity can work together to eliminate discrimination across all industries. Share this story to inspire others who face similar challenges. Together, we can transform institutions that have failed to serve everyone equally. What would you have done in Maya's situation? Tell us in the comments and join the conversation about creating bias-free systems that protect everyone's dignity. Follow our channel for weekly stories of individuals who refuse to accept injustice and change the world through innovation, persistence, and moral courage.